Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. And what you're going to do with it is anybody's guess because we don't have a lot for you this week because TNA Wrestling doesn't have a lot for you this week. But, we're going to figure something out. If there was ever a good episode for an AMA, this is the one. So start getting your questions together now for us. And who is us? Well, I'm Jamie Williams, sometimes known as the Vet. This is my tag team partner, as always, Brandon, who I'm tagging in. Brandon, besides no TNA, what's going on?
Man, we'll get into this later. I'm just really frustrated. They put absolutely no effort into actually making a follow-up to their biggest show of the year. How do you drop the ball like that?
Yeah, now I know people love to say this kind of stuff, but can you imagine watching WrestleMania or not watching WrestleMania and hearing about it? And then you turn on Monday Night Raw to see what's going to happen next, and all you see is what you already saw. Can you imagine that?
Could you imagine like if it was an actual like pay-per-view that you plunked money down for and it wasn't the network, and then you turn on Monday Raw, it's like, oh, I didn't have to pay that money for it.
All right, maybe it's a relief in that case. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is great for the people that saw it. But some of those people may be here. We have the C and the VBC, and we got a couple of people here so far, and hopefully we'll see people file in. They might be curious to see what we might say when we're not given any content to work with. So who do we have with us right now?
Let's see. Chilling with us tonight is Lab Rat, Jerome Hall, Lizbeth, Javi Uchida. What's up, you guys? Hope you're having a great night. Whoop, whoop.
All right. Well, it's got to be a great night if they've got Impact Attack because we've also got there's a football game going on, Monday Night Raw's going on, lots of excitement. So let's start with that. We've already sort of touched on it, but for anybody that wasn't aware, Bound for Glory last weekend, big deal in Chicago. The name change reverted, going back to TNA Wrestling, according to Scott D'Amore, screaming "We're back" into the microphone, and some other stuff, because I do have a little bit on the show, what little there was, what little new content there was. So they have this, and they get a buzz sort of going, and then when it comes time for the new episode, it's just a lot of stuff from Bound for Glory. In fact, mostly it's just some two entire whole matches. As far as I could tell, it's not like I was going to watch them, so I couldn't tell you if they edited anything out of them. But two whole matches, scattered other stuff, and studio segments with Tom and Matt. So yeah, way to capitalize on that hype. Way to, and not only that, but you make the change. You make a big deal out of the change. We're going back to TNA Wrestling, and you don't have anything on this episode that would let people know that this is any different. You don't even, it's a package show, so that means you didn't have to produce an actual show, but you still didn't change the packaging. It still says Impact Wrestling everywhere, so you couldn't even put logos. Now, it's not like they changed it for, like, there was no plans to do it and then they just changed it on Saturday. They had to make last Saturday they had a movie they made about it where Kazarian fishes a box out of a lake, and so that just didn't get done and filmed live or broadcast and whatever. They didn't make these last minute decisions, so they knew that the TNA change was coming probably for a while, so they could announce it, but not a while enough that they could have new graphics made for the first episode of this clip show. So right off the bat, anybody you're not, this is, we were talking about what could it possibly mean to change the name or to do anything, or what direction could this company go. We're talking about that and wondering that, and we're kind of like, I guess maybe, I don't want to speak for you, but maybe we're giving them the benefit of the doubt in a way as we're saying these things, and then this is what we get for giving people the benefit of the doubt. So if there's a lesson to be learned here, never give people the benefit of the doubt. Always assume the worst. Tigers don't change their stripes, or leopards don't change their spots, or TNA changes its name a bunch of times, but it's always the same shit. Um, that's just a huge, uh, it's like a huge misstep. It's a strike out in the final game of the World Series type thing. So
Yeah, again, I don't get what they're trying to accomplish, what they're hoping to accomplish. It just doesn't really make that much sense. Like, you've been Impact Wrestling for, what is it now, 6 years or almost 7. People have gotten used to it, and it's just like, well, and they had their, reasoning, like, oh, international partners, that's what they think of it as. And from everything that Jarrett's always said, like, that's where they made most of their money, was international deals. So why even change it in the first place?
yeah, that's an interesting point, because so if indeed you are talking about international things and it's still being TNA wrestling in international spaces, would that not mean, do you mean to tell me you're not supplying them with the product that we've been getting? Like, are you calling it Impact Wrestling and they're calling it TNA? If you're still giving them TNA Wrestling, then why is it not branded as TNA Wrestling now, when you have a chance to rebrand it already on this first episode?
Again, I just have to ask the question of, why do they even like rebrand it from TNA into Impact when it was bought in the first place? Like, that one really never made sense, because like TNA is already, it's established, it's known. Why would you even walk away from that?
We don't know. We don't know. So, um, like I said, we've got we've got plenty of airspace to fill. Hello to Piers Austin, the great Piers Austin. Um, so, if you guys have anything else you want to talk about, or any questions, if for ask us anything, is tonight is the night, because like I said, we weren't given anything to work with at this point.
Not
I
even
guess
lemon, not even lemons.
not even a lemon. They threw a lemon peel at us. Like, they thought we were a trash can, and they just tossed the lemon peel at us, and that's it. Um, I really don't know. So Liz says, I'm wondering if it's the timing of the actual trademarks that are currently dead. Yeah, there's got to be some kind of reason. I don't know if it's the bullshit reason that Scott Demore says. If that's just hyping people up, wrestlers can't be trusted. So, um, and I don't know if there has been a company statement, as Retro pointed out. Like, I don't know if there's an official press release, nor would who would know where to try to find an official press release from them. Who would they be sending a press release? What press is asking for a release from this company? Who would be asking them for anything, right? Um, so
Nick Hausman.
yeah, Nick House. Do you think so? This guy's gotten some big moments, dude. He's too busy trying to make moments with Paul Heyman and CM Punk to worry about Impact Wrestling. Uh, but hey, yeah, that's Oh, Jerome with a question for us already. What'd you guys have for dinner? I haven't had dinner yet, but I mean, I don't know what I'll have. It's very exciting. It's an exciting time in the vet household. What about you, Brandon? Any dinner yet?
I had chicken wings from this one place that some I've been seeing popping up lately, and I'm really enjoying it. It's like these like chicken wing places, but it's like but it's buffalo sauce with Asian spices in it. It's amazing.
Hmm. Well, you want to shout this business out or
Yes, touchdown wings.
Touchdown Wings? All right. We're looking for a sponsorship, Touchdown Wings. So if you'd like to get in contact with Brandon here. Um. So all right. So here we go. We don't know. We're making a big deal out of rebranding, and we haven't done it yet.
Yeah, that's the kind of
You
bizarre
would think
part.
you wouldn't even make the announcement, right? Until you're ready to move forward with it, right?
Right, that would make the most amount of sense. Like, hey, we're back to this now, and that's actually not a horrible way to go off your biggest show of the year is with an announcement like that and actually following through with it immediately instead of just like, oh, we're gonna wait like 2 months.
It, yeah, let's do another set of tapings. Yeah, I wouldn't have even made an announcement until I was ready to go. It's kind of like how, um, you know, just a smaller example, a personal example, right? Like, I don't want to advertise something and then not deliver it as a part of HMG. So any of the times in the past when I've had guests or friends that I've brought on, whether it's, Mike Mondo or Vic from the Ascension or, anybody like that I wanted to have on Next Level Wrestling Review or even a Piers Austin here on the Impact Attack. I don't want to tell you guys, hey, we're gonna have so and so like on the show, and then something happens and then they don't show up. Like, I want to be as close to be able to confirm that as possible. Not only so it looks like that it doesn't look like that I don't deliver, but it also doesn't put any heat on them for not making a scheduled appearance, right? So always wait till the last minute to put those things together. And most of the time I'll let you guys find out on the day, right? So that is what I do, and it doesn't even matter. Like, I don't think anybody, if I said, hey, so and so's gonna be on this episode, and then they didn't show up, I don't think anybody would think I'm a fraud necessarily right off of the bat. But if I have a pattern of not delivering things, then I get a reputation, and then people are like, "Oh, Vet said he's gonna have so and so on again. I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it." Those type of things, right? So even though I don't really think that there's high stakes, and I don't really think that anybody would think any less if plans fall through or things happen, that's just a matter of personal integrity. So it's kind of weird if you say, we're TNA wrestling, TNA is back, and then the first thing you show me is that you're absolutely not back and nothing is different. You didn't even have new content for Impact Wrestling, let alone any rebranding, any new logos, anything like that. And again, like I said, it would be the perfect time since you've chosen not to provide the results of your taping that you just did, at least not for this week. Then you should have had nothing but time to just get this week's package show ready and have the logos and graphics and whatever ready to go, right? I mean, what's so hard about that? I don't know. But it makes you look stupid. It immediately makes you look stupid. It makes you look stupid that you have a clip show and that it's still Impact Wrestling. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
just the whole decision of how they have handled this whole thing since Bound for Glory. It's like, what are they thinking? I legit want to know what's going through their minds with it when it comes to these decisions.
well, I mean, let's take a look at what's going through their mind. Let's just do that. So I got all set to make notes for this show. I have a couple of notes. Um, so we can just talk about it, and then if anything comes to mind as we're running through this, then perhaps that could spin us off in a tangent. Um, but anyways, if you guys continue to think of things to talk, topics of conversation and questions that we can do at the end of the show. So of course they start with a recap of Bound for Glory. Little do we know that the whole thing was going to be a recap of Bound for Glory, and then they go into the Will Ospreay versus Speedball Mike Bailey match, the full match as far as I could tell. So here's an example of what we were talking about. So you'd have, these pay-per-views, it's not like, back in the day, if you were ordering on cable or satellite and you had a chance to order these shows and then you missed the window, like it's on, let's say it's on a Saturday, and then it runs like two or maybe twice in a row, like 2-3 hour blocks of pay-per-view. And if you miss the first block, if you come in the middle and you buy it, you'll get the replay too, like, so you can see what you missed. And then after that, in the pre-DVR days, that's it. You got to watch it, and that was it. And if you had a VCR or whatever and you recorded it, you could keep it that way, but there was no official way of keeping the show. So you kind of had to watch it when it was on, and then you might get a replay on a Tuesday, right? Like they would do a Tuesday night replay, and then you had a second chance to order it, especially after now, let's say you had pay-per-view on Sunday, Monday Night Raw. Then on Monday Night Raw, they talk about the pay-per-view and they give you a chance to get what you missed on Tuesday. So you order on Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. And after Tuesday, that was it. You wasn't going to get another chance to order it, right? It's not like that anymore. First of all, if you're paying full price on cable for a pay-per-view anymore, then you're a moron, because you have, even if WWE has a pay-per-view on cable or satellite, that's going to be the pay-per-view price. What's a monthly subscription to Peacock? Like at most it's $10, right? So why would you not just sign up for 1 month of Peacock just so that you can watch that pay-per-view if that's what you're really doing? No, let's pay 6 times that, right?
Like, yeah. I'm sorry. The fact that anybody would even consider the going straight to direct pay-per-view over the Peacock subscription is completely mind-blowing. Like how sorry. That's
well, international markets and
that's it.
But so anyway,
well, I mean, like if you had the option.
Yeah. So the option now, the way if you have there are many ways, I don't know how many, but there's at least a few different ways to get an Impact pay-per-view now. And so, like, for example, if you're just using the Fight TV app, you can order it on Fight TV. And if you have Amazon, you can order it through Amazon, like on Fight. So it goes just like another Amazon purchase that way. So it's very convenient and easy to get the pay-per-view, whatever it would cost. I don't know what the fucking pay-per-view costs. $10, $20, $30, somewhere in between. And at this point, you can order it right now. You could stop watching our show and go order Bound for Glory right now and watch it right now. So that being the case, if you had a hyped up match that people were looking forward to, And people are coming out of, people like Retro Rocket Review and whoever coming out saying Speedball Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay is the greatest match or whatever, and all these people are talking about it. Now they can go and be like, well, shit, I would pay whatever to see that match, I guess. If these are some honest, hardworking citizens, that play by the rules and don't worry about piracy or things like that, they could be like, yeah, I would pay to see that match. And now they don't have to because you just gave it to them. So there you go. Another brilliant business move. I mean, am I off base here?
Not at all. That's some shit I expect WCW to do in their stupidest, thought processes.
I don't ever remember them doing that.
Oh yeah, they aired the entire finish to Goldberg DDP at Halloween Havoc 98 on Nitro, or the entire match.
Yeah, but that was because...
But that was, they had to do a make good because they fucked up on the timing of the show.
Right.
I can't remember specifically what one it was, but there was another time they showed like an entire pay-per-view match on Nitro. Oh, now I remember what it was. It was the DDP Malone versus Hogan Rodman. And there are a lot of people plunked down money to see that show. And the next time they air for free, it's like, I ain't giving them my money again if they're going to give a match like that away for free the next night.
Mm-hmm. Which that's a larger thing in the industry that we're looking at now, where it's like, if you didn't see the show, it doesn't even matter. First of all, if you don't watch Raw, SmackDown, whatever, then Crown Jewel comes up, this weekend. Do not worry. You will be caught up at Crown Jewel. They will make sure that you know every fucking thing that happened from then to now. At Crown Jewel, you will be served up packages, and the announcers will be telling you. You will not be lost. Let's put it that way. Not that their stuff is so complicated that they could lose you anyway. But even under the assumption that you haven't watched WWE for months and you decided you want to see Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio for whatever reason, you go watch that show, don't worry, they'll catch you up. And let me catch you up right now in case you did want to see that match. Logan Paul challenged Rey Mysterio for his United States Championship. That's the storyline. There you go. I caught you up. 2 seconds. You're welcome. But the point is, they have methods in place to make sure that the TV show is important and not important. And what does that do? That gives you, that trains you as an audience. I don't need to watch Raw. I don't need to watch SmackDown. That's not destination viewing every week. I can miss it. If I don't feel like watching it, I don't have to watch it. There's no fear of missing it. And I can catch a clip. Or if somebody really, really says something's good, maybe I just DVR it, watch it later if I have DVR. Or I can just go back and find it somewhere else. But you're not telling people, it's important that you plunk your ass on the couch from 8 to 11 or 8 to 10 or whatever it is to watch our show live, the way that the NFL makes it seem like it's important. Do you think the NFL just puts up all the best, puts their whole games on like every chance they get? No, it's got to be like you're there, like you had to be there first. And then maybe like a week later, the NFL Network, which is a sort of a premium add-on to your cable and satellite packages, might show you a game, but that game is already days old by the time that they're showing it to you. So they train you got to be there live to watch the game. And wrestling doesn't do that anymore. Wrestling was like, oh, you missed it? Don't worry. Here, you don't have to be here to watch this. We'll show you. Here's a highlight. Here's a package. Here's this. Here's that. You don't have to be here. They're coddling you that you don't need to be there live. And so that's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons that the ratings are not what they once were. That's one of the reasons that Raw is doing a 1.5 instead of a 4.5, because you don't got to be there. You're not missing anything. It's okay. We'll catch you up later. Don't worry about it. And then here's Impact off the biggest show of the year saying, "Hey, you missed it? Don't worry. Here's the match everybody was talking about right out of the gate." You didn't even chronologically go through Bound for Glory on this episode. You just bounced around and skipped back and forth. I mean, if I didn't watch Bound for Glory, this would be good enough for me, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Like, oh shit, I could have just watched Impact and saved my money.
Yep. So there you go. But anyway, yeah, if you didn't watch it, if you didn't watch the Bound for Glory, great. Here you go. Right here on Access TV, you can see Osprey versus Speedball. And then they do highlights of the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. Okay. Then they do highlights of the Hall of Fame inductions. So you can see a little bit of Tracy, a little bit of the Tenay speeches, but just highlights. We're not going to do the full. That's something you could put. First of all, that's terrible. But if you did want to put a full segment on these shows, you could do that, because that part was not premium. That part was free. If you could go on YouTube, you could watch it right now. So it's not like you're losing anything by putting that on the show, because it's already free and available for people to watch as part of the, countdown show. But if you didn't want to watch that, then you tune in. That's like almost like a punishment for the audience, but it's the kind of punishment that lets you know, like, hey, should have watched Bound for Glory, shouldn't you have, old man watching Access TV, right? That's what.
Yeah, or what about, or maybe even with the Hall of Fame speeches, like show maybe a snippet of each and say, check out the full speech at our YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I'm just saying, if you're trying to fill a show that you didn't want to do, then you could put the whole things on there, and that's fine. At the very least. But anyway. So then they show little highlights of the Tag Team Championship match. And that is, of course, the ABC going ahead and winning the belts back from the Rascals. And then this was one of the pieces of new content on this show. They show ABC, and they're backstage, and they're trying to wipe the paint off of the belts with I don't know what it is, rags or paper towels. They're like trying to scrub the green paint off. And then they just, do a promo where Ace Austin reflects on how far they've come from, their formation, and how he won his first singles title at a Bound for Glory, and now he's a tag team champion here at Bound for Glory. And then Chris Bay says it's time to hit the Chi-Town streets for a celebration. It's just like a celebration, except he puts his last name in the middle of it. So there you go. There's your new content treat. If you're actually sitting here watching this live, even with the announcers and stuff. Yep. And Retro Rocket Review was today years old when he discovered that Access TV was nothing but like concert shows and stuff that are like, for bands that our parents would know. And then that gives you an idea. If you're actually watching Access TV, the ads they run give you an idea of what they think their demographic is of watching TV around that time. So, it might be time to look into life insurance, for your loved ones. All right. So next we have the highlights from the Knockouts Championship match, and then we get a new promo from Trinity. This is, I guess, backstage after, just like the ABC one. where she says she felt that she hadn't fully earned her championship since Mickey never lost it. But now that she's actually able to win against Mickey, she'll sleep better now. And then they go back to Tom and Matt in the studio, and they say something about Turning Point, and that Trendy has already scheduled another defense of her title against Deonna Purrazzo. So I guess they're breaking it here. I didn't hear anything about this. Certainly there was no angle run because there wouldn't have been any time to run any angles or anything or whatever, but apparently that's happening. So breaking news, Deonna versus Trendy at Turning Point, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think they said was going to be in the UK or something this time at some point. Which, is the UK even a real thing anymore? Are they united? I don't think they're united. I'm pretty sure they're quite the opposite of united at this current point geographically and politically. So I don't even know what the UK means anymore. Are you just saying England? Is that just another way of saying England and making it sound bigger, and you're like out of touch with reality, or what? Or is it one of the other countries?
I don't know. I think like saying England kind of throws back to the English Empire when they actually used to rule the world, and now they're kind of about to just get completely devoured from within.
Yeah, I don't know. Liz thought Deanna's contract was up. Well, stellar reporting from the usual reporters of wrestling news. She's got at least one more booking, but you wouldn't know that if you didn't watch this clip show. And that's just the level of professional that I am, damn it. I scrubbed the clip show to make sure there was no new content, because I am a reporter of the people. Oh, wait, that's my co-host. No, he's the pundit of the people. I can be the reporter of the people now. He retired as reporter of the people. I'm the reporter of the people, the man with the plan. Big J here to stay, to talk some Lucha Libre, which is your Spanish lesson for wrestling. But you are not alone if you missed Bound for Glory. Because a lot of people missed Bound for Glory. And it wasn't important to watch it because you can see the main event match, the championship match. Josh Alexander versus Alex Shelley for the Impact Championship. In full, right here on Access TV. Make Foley cheap pop.
Hey, remember when like the superstars after WrestleMania 3 in the middle of the show, they said, hey, we're just going to do Hogan and Andre. Full match. Here you go.
Yeah, I don't think they ever did that. Even when they could have. It could be 25 years later. It's like best of WrestleMania. I still don't think they put that match on TV. They probably did. But not at any time close to back when it aired. Put it that way.
And yeah, and that would probably have been a horrible decision to throw that on again kind of free TV, because you could have still gotten money from the videos and replays.
Yep. Well, hey. So if you didn't see that match, here's your chance. And then, but of course it's just as, I mean, if you're going back to watch this episode of Impact to watch this full match, you might as well go back and just watch the whole Bound for Glory, because you're probably going to get it the same way. I definitely went to the same website to watch both. So, yeah. Then we get highlights of Sabin and Kenta. And then they show us the TNA movie they made. The Kazarian from the Black Lagoon and all this shit. And then
I still think that leg is supposed to be a reference to the leg of reincarnation. They just can't use that because the Hardys aren't there right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Sure it is. And then they show the part where he's saying like we're back. Scott D'Amore's in the ring. We're back, throwing the microphone down. Uh, and then they show the locker room reaction. While he's saying that, it's everybody just sitting there and they're like applauding. And it seems like a very okay. We're gonna shoot a thing where you guys are applauding when he says this. Is the energy I got from that. Um. So yeah, there you go. And then they cut back to the ring and they show us part of the speech that was not on the air. So Scott D'Amore spiked the microphone and then just went and picked it back up and said this is basically what happened, I guess, if we're reviewing what actually happened at the time. He had to throw the microphone down real hard and then just go pick it up and then start talking again. And his speech it involved a lot of like screaming names and stuff. People like Jeff Jarrett, people like Dixie Carter, and he said, "You we thought they'd let this go, but you fans never let this go. You chanted TNA everywhere we went, or whatever." So, yeah. So that was the reasoning. The reasoning was that the fans never stopped believing it was TNA, so they're bringing it back. So how long have just, not even just me, let's just say you and I, when you joined the Impact Attack review crew back with Colin and everything, like how long has that been?
At least 2 years?
About 2 years. All right. So we're coming up on a 2-year anniversary, if not past it. How many TNA chants do you remember the crowd doing the entire time we've been watching?
Somewhere between 0 and 0.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like I would have remembered if it happened more than once, or if it happened enough times close enough together that, you know. But I'm sure because one thing we do know about this production staff is that their audio is always on point, right? Like there's never any gaffes or feed issues, or there's never any sort of audio issues with Impact Wrestling. So if they were chanting TNA, surely they must have like digitally removed that from the audio, right? Like they probably were doing it live in those arenas and then they just made sure that we couldn't hear it, you know? Like they bleeped it out, right? Because the WWE's good at that too, right? The WWE always nails it whenever somebody's like, using bad language, or if the crowd is chanting a foul word or something like that, they always sync it up perfectly with the crowd and we can never hear what the crowd is chanting. And they do it in a way where we don't lose the rest of the audio from the show, so that they just extract those words from the audience. So if the audience are saying you fucked up and the WWE wants to bleep it on Monday Night Raw, they get it perfectly, and the show just goes on as normal, but they just isolate that crowd sound of them saying fucked, and then they just remove that from the live broadcasts, and it's never a problem, right? Like, we know as wrestling companies that they're infallible when it comes to just digital removal of things. So these crowds were probably just chanting TNA the whole time, and they just removed it digitally so we couldn't hear it at home. Because I haven't been to a TNA show live. I don't know if you have, but yeah, I don't know. So, in case you couldn't tell, I've been sarcastic for the last 3 minutes.
I did.
Nobody is chanting TNA. Nobody on television, anyway. Maybe if they're on house shows or something that nobody sees. Oh, do they run house shows? I don't think so. I really don't know. It seems like they just do tapings and sets of tapings. So, I don't really know if what Scott D'Amore is saying is true. Far be it from a wrestler to exaggerate or make things up completely, but I really don't know. Now, I do know that people lazily just continue to refer to it as TNA, much in the same way some people that are completely out of touch with wrestling still say WWF unironically, because that's the last time they thought about it, was when they could have seen possibly Hogan versus Andre for free on television. Uh, so that's, perhaps that is the case there, but I really, I just don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Speaking of TNA's production values, I was there live during Lockdown 07 for the electrified cage match. It was so much worse in person. Like, this is such fake, phony bullshit. Nobody's buying this.
So what did they do? Do you remember what they did for the broadcast where they try to manipulate it?
Basically, like the lights went out and you heard and like a buzzing, like a came over sound over the loudspeakers, and then whoever's holding the cage or whoever had their hand on the cage started like shaking like he was getting fried. Like, oh, come on. Come on.
Well, you heard it, guys. Come on.
Come in. I mean, come in.
Yeah, so that's basically the episode. That's the episode you got. Some studio segments and a couple of like promos that were taped at Bound for Glory. We got the post match, which I'm a fan of doing those things on the show. Like what we talked about. We talked about how they won those tag team championships, and they got there was like a 30-second celebration time before they go into the Osprey and Bailey package. So it's like, yay, they won the tag team championships. Anyways, not very respectful of the new championship, which shows you what the titles mean, right? And then later on, we get this little post-match thing where they're trying to clean the belts off. So that could have been something that you actually had on the show to give things a little bit of time. But that's sort of one of the things, like, when you notice about wrestling as compared to other sports, or especially combat sports. When UFC has a card with like 5 fights on it, it's 5 fights, but that shit still goes for like 3 hours. Even if the fights are like quick knockouts in the first round, like then you might get under 3 hours. If you have a night where 5 fights go the full 25 minutes, it's over 3 hours, but it's usually around the 3 hours. The question is, how much filler do they have to do in between? So imagine like somebody getting knocked out in the cage and winning a championship, and then they're just like, all right, get out. No post-match interview, no official announcement, no anything, just get out. We got to get another fight in here. Or they just start playing another package and you don't get to hear like the post-match interview. They give things time is what I'm saying. You need to give, if you are trying to make a championship in a wrestling company mean anything, then you have to let it breathe when somebody actually wins a belt there. Like, it's supposed to mean something. Let the crowd digest the fact that you have new champions. Let them celebrate or boo the new champions. Let people react and give things time. And try to format your show in a way that you will have time for those things, even if other things go long. It would be better to go short than to go too long.
Let the audience get their feelings and emotions out before you just hit them with something else.
Right. I mean, formatting is a huge issue. Again, industry-wide. Like, you will not find a wrestling program that has a good format. I'm sorry, it just doesn't exist. There's no good formatting. And the WWE used to do a thing in recent history where, you'll hear, how many times will you hear Jim Cornette on his review say, so they went 2 minutes and went to the break? Like, if that's a drinking game while you're listening to a Cornette podcast, where if you take a shot every time Jim says they fought for 2 minutes and went to a break, then you'll have alcohol poisoning after like an hour of listening. So they were like, oh, we can do better than that. Starting with the NXT Halloween Havoc episode and continuing on to like, the episodes of SmackDown and Raw, they'll start a match and they'll go to commercial like 30 seconds in.
Why not, at that point, why not format it to have the commercial break before the match even starts?
Why indeed? I'll tell you why. Because they think, for whatever reason, there's probably some analytics or something telling them that this is a good idea. So whatever the reason is, they think it's like, oh, if we start the match and then go to break immediately, then they're going to stick around to see what's going to happen because the match just started, I think. Must be their thought process. In reality, you have to stop acting like people are still watching TV like normal. That wouldn't have even worked at the height of it. Right? Like, you would, in Attitude Era, Vince and Ed would do it where you'd see Austin on his way to doing something and then they go to the break. Right? So you want to come back and see what Austin's going to do, but he didn't start doing it yet. Imagine if he went in the hospital and hit Vince McMahon with the bedpan and then they were like, oh, we got to go to break. Like right in the middle of the beating, You're just not.
And you also had some of the greatest storytellers in announcing of all time who kept you hooked and kept reminding you, hey, Austin's still here. He still got to come later. He could show up at any time.
Yeah. So I don't know who's in charge of the formatting. I really don't. It's going to the blame is going to fall on Triple H for them. For WWE, I mean. It's going to be that, So. But I guarantee you Triple H is not sitting there writing a format. Like, people think that Triple H is really sitting here writing a script for Monday Night Raw. No, he's fucking not. He's never written a script for anything in his life. I don't even know if he could spell.
He's booking a card.
Right. If that. Head of creative to me in a company that big means I got to approve it and have meetings and go over it. But this is your job. You being the writing staff, like the other, the heads of the other, like, heads of creative, like with respective shows, like whoever still works there, I don't fucking know. But it's those guys' job to deliver me a show. And then I have to approve what they've done. And maybe if I have an idea while I'm reading it, I might contribute that idea, say, can we do this? And then they may be able to make a change. Vince McMahon was doing that the day of. But he still was probably not writing a script from scratch unless he tore up an entire script and then he had to come up with one. But he still had an entire staff handing him a script to rip up first. He has to have something he doesn't like before he can then write something he did. Otherwise, why doesn't he just write the whole thing by himself and fire everybody? So I think what's happening with Triple H is they format this show, however, and he looks at it and he may have his input on it. And then he goes, all right, well, here's what we're doing. And then if he doesn't like a bunch of stuff on it, he's probably not ripping it up. He's probably saying, all right, well, we'll do this week and then we'll try to fix this for next week. Because what that does is it gets your show out there. It keeps the morale somewhat high as far as like your creative team is concerned, because you're not ripping shit up in front of them. And then you can have your meetings and discuss the things that you didn't like afterwards, and we'll try again next week. It's not like this is some sort of life and death situation making a wrestling show, right? If they give you a shitty show, just shoot the shitty show and then try to fix it next week with a new, better show. You don't just try to rush something else out that's going to end up just as shitty because it's rushed, right?
Right. You can fix the holes and fix the mistakes next week. Continuity problems are way worse.
Yeah, way worse. So, yeah, so, you know, who knows what it is in Impact? The only thing we do know is they have 3 shows at a time that they shoot at whatever time that is. So they may shoot a bunch of stuff and then write the formats around what they shot. Like they shoot matches and vignettes and then they have to put it together. And that's apparent because we've seen how some of these shows end up where we have continuity questions like, okay, well, why did you do this? Why did you do this pre-tape when you already did this on the show or whatever? So it's not
basically, yeah, the tapings are the tapings are essentially shoot a bunch of content and put it together like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, that's all. That's a different work problem. You know, but I guess, how do we get off on that tangent? I think it was it something related to them having time to make a change with the TNA thing and the graphics? Maybe not.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know. We don't know anything. But yeah, I don't. So hopefully next week. Now I'm pretty sure they actually did things. After Bound for Glory, because I heard some results already of what happened.
I think they did have tapings after, like the night after, but they're not airing this week because that's where CM Punk showed up.
Mm-hmm. Right. He didn't show up to a bunch of nothing, and he didn't show up to Bound for Glory, so he had to show up for something. Not that he's going to be on these, so don't get your hopes up. If you're hearing about this for the first time, do not think that you're going to catch him on Bound for Glory, or I mean, the Impact tapings or the TNA tapings or whatever tapings there are. And that's the other thing. If they were all set up with all the Impact stuff for Bound for Glory and everything, it still says Impact, and they just make the TNA announcement at the end with one logo over Hard to Kill, do you really think that anything else on this show is going to be ready to go? It's going to be Impact for everything they do for the next 2 weeks, right? So
yeah, that again, one of the most baffling decisions I've seen them make is like the brand change, and you're not ready to go immediately.
Yep. Well, you know, sometimes with the PWC boys, we give the show a letter grade. I would give this what was the grade below an F, like incomplete or something like that?
I'm gonna give it an NE, no effort.
No effort. NE as in NE1 can crank this shit out, fuckers.
Yeah, just put in a tape and hit play, essentially.
That's it. All right. Well, it's the last chance for Ask Us Anything. So let's go back. I'll go back in the chat and see all the questions that we may or may not have gotten, whether they were directed for an AMA or not. We already answered the dinner question, the hard-hitting dinner question. Let's see. We have some Snavitz, gimmick. Well, yeah, no questions. Oh, well, here's a question. Retro Rocket of You asks, do you care that Fear the Walking Dead series will be ending on November 19th after 8 seasons? Or Doom Patrol ending after 4 seasons on November 9th? No. I can't even believe that Fear the Walking Dead ran for 8 seasons. Like, here, hey, you guys know that show with the characters and the zombies? Well, here's none of those characters, but some zombies. You want to watch that? 8 years later, and there's still spin-offs and supposedly movies coming. No, but just like the rotting corpses, in The Walking Dead, the entire franchise is a shambling rotting corpse, and I guess people are still watching it enough that they keep wanting to put production into this while other things are getting canceled, like Doom Patrol. And Warner Brothers will be quick to cancel something. They'll cancel something they're already finished with. They don't care.
Like Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yep. Or the Batgirl movie or whatever. That's like, oh, it's done. I don't care. We ain't gonna make our money back off that. It's like, you know what the world needs? Blue Beetle. That'll turn our fortunes around. Fire Superman. Get me Blue Beetle. Is Vince McMahon running Warner Brothers too? Like, yeah. Yes. Yeah, as for the so another thing Retro pointed out is the heart icon in the chat, which is so that you can give real-time reactions like Instagram, and Facebook. So like if you were to do a Facebook Live, or you ever seen those, you would see people doing the reaction emojis and stuff, and it would like float up, like the little hearts and smiley faces float up and everything, like while the show is live. So you click on it to react to everything live, and I can see it happening now. People are doing it. So that's what that's for. But it does kind of it does kind of like cover up the bottom corner. So if there's like a word that goes too long, or like a sentence that goes too long, like you might not be able to see the word till you scroll. It's a very difficult problem, I know. For the people who are blessed to have the internet, it's hard to not see part of a word sometimes. So I hope that you guys will make it through. What is your thoughts on if you had any, on The Walking Dead or Doom Patrol or any other canceled shows?
Sorry to say I never watched any of those.
I'm not sorry. You did the right thing. So, all right. So let's see. Liz says incomplete. Yeah, it's an I for incomplete. J-Hall gives it a W as in Y. Yeah, that's a good one. Are you a candy house or a lights out house? I'm a lights out house, but it doesn't matter anymore. Lights can be on. People don't trick or treat in my neighborhood anymore. I see less and less people doing it every year. Is it like that where you are?
Unfortunately, yes. I kind of miss, like, I mean, for me, it just brings back better times. And I just kind of miss that little reminder every year.
Yep. At some point in the past, I don't know, what would you say, 60 years? We started raising a generation of serial killers, kidnappers, those kind of like fucked up people. Because the 80s was the last time I remember where people were too scared to let their kids go outside. And that's when a lot of this shit really started to take off. Like you started to really hear about more people going missing all the time. Like, so I'm thinking like these would be like the children of, what would you say, the greatest generation era, like the World War II era's children would have grown up to be these like,
They're the boomers.
yeah, the boomer era. Start getting vans and telling kids, hey, your parents asked me to pick you up, and all this shit that we started hearing about when we were younger, right? So as a result, I feel like you see less and less of those type of things where communities were safe enough that kids could play outside and everything. But
Remember it used to be when the streetlights come on, you got to get home.
yeah. Yeah. And that's usually, and at one, that used to be because it was time for dinner, not because you were going to get swiped. Favorite dinner. God, what's a favorite dinner? I don't eat as much. So it's still sort of a treat to me, but like anytime I can, have a nice pizza or whatever, I enjoy that. A good pizza hits the spot every now and then, but I don't get to, well, I purposely don't eat it as much as I really want it. So you can never usually go wrong with a nice pizza. What about you, Brandon? What would you say is a favorite dinner for you?
Oh, if you get the right pizza, there's nothing that beats the right kind of pizza.
All right, so 2 pizzas.
And then you throw
Yeah.
like the right like appetizers and sides with it. Oh,
Yep. Yeah, I mean, so at this point in life, I'm a one person, one pizza. Like if you have a large pizza, I could probably eat it. Um, so I don't have room for sides or desserts or things. I guess that's gonna be it. Um, that's probably not good either. I shouldn't be able to eat a large pizza. But yeah. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I don't really look at. I've looked at food differently. Um, I'd say the latter half of my life, I looked at food differently. It's more like a means to an end. Like it'd be like asking somebody. For me, it'd be like asking somebody, "What's your favorite gas to put in your car?" Like, who cares? So I try to look for nutritious food to use for fuel, the way it's intended, and I don't enjoy it as much. I sacrifice things I enjoy, and anytime I indulge in things that I do enjoy, like, you know what? Life is too short. I'll just eat whatever I want and not worry about health. Then I always end up feeling like shit. So it's like, well, here you go. You can either like how it tastes or like how you feel. You don't get to have both for the most part. Um, for the record, Liz had a steak sandwich with chimichurri, pickled red onion, roasted red peppers, and field greens today for lunch with her bestie, one of her 10 besties. Took her out, and when all these besties find out about each other, there's going to be a battle royal, I think. She's got a local bestie, a distant bestie, a midtown bestie, um, a state bestie, international bestie, virtual bestie. Let's see. She says, I have 4 besties. They serve different purposes. You can't have 4 bests. There's one best. Not the retail chain. That's not around anymore. You guys remember Best? I'll ask you guys anything. Remember Best? The store? I don't know if it has any relation, but the ones that were in my area when I was younger were replaced by uh, Best Buy. So I don't know if Best changed into Best Buy or if they just were replaced with it as an ironic coincidence. But it would be like, it was kind of like I think it was an electronics favored department store, but they had like, I think they had a little bit of everything.
Dude, I walked into a Best Buy the other day on delivery. I hadn't been into a Best Buy in years. My first reaction was like, when it's become just an appliance store.
It was a little sad, wasn't it? Didn't you get an air of sadness going in there?
Extremely sad. Like, oh, where's the computer stuff? Where's the CDs?
I don't know. They're just
Where's the video
delaying the
games?
inevitable. Yeah, where's the videos? They're just delaying the inevitable, dude. Like they're not going to be around much longer. They're just struggling to hang on. You know, like it's what it was like when I remember when the Kmart started closing down, and they had one that was like doing like one of those, you know, everything must go sales because we're shutting it down, and just going in there was just so sad and pathetic. Not only just the place itself and what they had left, but the people that were there. You know, it's like, what am I doing here? I need to get the hell out of this building.
Jerome, that's where I got my Super Nintendo. When it very first came out.
Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. When I was dead broke, man, I couldn't picture this. Circuit City. Yep, Circuit City's gone. Then yeah, there's lots of stuff that go out of business. We could talk about stuff going out of business for a whole other podcast, but I think, you know, we've done enough to give the people what they pay their channel attitude $5 for. We did the best we could with zero content. I want to say zero content, maybe 2% content. They did give us a couple promos and a, you know, a little extra behind the scenes footage of Scott Demore screaming people's names that used to work at TNA. So that's nice. But yeah, we will let you go. We will respect your time. If you've been here live, we appreciate you for stopping in so much. Don't forget, it's going to be the same time every Monday, whether TNA, Impact, whoever has a show or not, we're going to have a show for you. So, you know, anytime you want to stop in and hang out and ask us things or talk to us about things or reminisce about closed retail chains, we'll be right here. If you want to do that in other places, perhaps, Brandon, where can they find you?
As always, I'm usually on Twitter, or as they call it, the kids call it these days, X at Transarchustia. I am also on Twitch at Miss Tia the Transarchus, and I am also on Substack at HMG Brandon.
All right. And you can find me on all those places and more, except, well, I don't have any Substack. But if I was on Substack, it would be at Opinion Haver. Okay? That's my one tag. I don't use other tags for other things. I'm at Opinion Haver everywhere. So if you don't say, hey, Vet, what are you on blah, blah, blah? It's Opinion Haver. If it's not, I'm not there. So at Opinion Haver everywhere that you want to get a hold of me. If you want to see me talk about other wrestling, you can watch the Next Level Wrestling Review with myself and Big Ray Hernandez every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern live. And if you tune in this week, you will not see Big Ray Hernandez, but you will see Jimmy T from the PWC, where we will be talking about night 2 of Halloween Havoc for NXT. And it's going to be spooky. Not really. It's, you know, but Shotzi and Scarlett will be dressed up as something. So, if nothing else, you know, you can check that out, or just follow their Instagrams. Then you don't have to watch NXT. You can just see them post pictures of what they dressed up as. If you want to hear me talk about AEW wrestling, then we have the Wreckage every Sunday at the same time, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, with myself, Jimmy T, and Chris Ams. That's Lambs with no L, or bullshit first thing in the morning. So we've got our AEW work cut out for us there, and we discuss how Collision has taken a huge slide ever since that the guy that the show was built around was unceremoniously fired for the least offensive thing you can do in pro wrestling, which is rough a guy up. But hey, they've got I don't know, what do they got? AEW. What does AEW got? So whatever they got, you can hear us talk about that. And that's pretty much it as far as the wrestling is concerned. You can definitely, if you want more wrestling than just that, you can go to Wrestling with Rip Rogers on their YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like, hit the notification bell, do all that stuff. Because if you do that, then you will see that they've sort of changed their format. And instead of going to a commercial break or an ad break after 30 seconds on the air, what they like to do is they like to do an hour of Q&A where you guys can just ask Rip Rogers questions. And why wouldn't you want to do that? Because that always goes exactly how you expect it. But in the second half, they've been bringing on people for interviews. So you get to see one half of the Fantastics. Bobby Fulton was on this week with the guys. And so they had a nice interview. And then the week before that was former WWE Tag Team Champion Mike Mondo. Of course, my original trainer, Mike Mondo, was on there talking about his pet peeves. He had a list of 20 pet peeves, and he got halfway through the first one in the hour. Then, previous to that, you all know from Netflix hit series Wrestlers about OVW, Hollywood Haley J was on with an hour with Rip Rogers, and you can find out what it was like when she first met Rip and what did he say to her or her mother. You definitely want to check out Wrestling with Rip Rogers. Then you want to check out Stevie Richards, obviously. I mean, if you're just so starved for wrestling and you need more content, you could just watch actual wrestling, but I would venture to say that some of the people are putting out better content that's wrestling related than the actual wrestling companies now. And so with Stevie Richards today, you can find out all about Ric Flair's Figure 4 leg lock. That's his latest video on YouTube. And on his Patreon, he's got a match for the X Division title with him and Jay Lethal that you may want to see him breaking down. So he's got his different content on Patreon and YouTube. You can get early access on Patreon to the YouTube content, but you're not going to be able to get the Patreon content on YouTube. So it's worth checking out. See if you want to support Stevie Richards. The list is growing. And so then besides that, of course, he's got his fitness channel, Stevie Richards Fitness, still putting up reviews, telling you about the best air bike. Then you got, what else is he doing? Too much stuff. Big fitness show podcast. Like he's got all this stuff in addition to doing the Raw and SmackDown review every week on Channel Attitude with the Russo brand and Ben Hameen. So you see Ben Hameen and Stevie Richards talk about SmackDown. Then you see Vince Russo join those guys and they all talk about Raw. I never miss it. It's always a fun time every week with those guys. So don't you miss it. Sign up. Channel Attitude. Enough freeloading. We give you all this content for $5. It's definitely worth more than a TNA pay-per-view. So with that being said, I don't think I could plug any more or any longer. So for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign-off.